Here we go. Welcome to Real Estate Investing Live with Brent Daniels. This is exciting because this is the show that we talk about everything. We talk about wholesaling. We talk about real estate investing. We talk about building wealth. And we go for the next 2 hours live. So make sure if you have comments, if you have questions, that you participate. All right? This is between us. This is all about intertwining your questions with what we've got to offer here and give to you, and really just make sure that you have all the tools, all the tactics, all the strategies that you need to be a successful real estate entrepreneur. We are broadcasting live from Phoenix, Arizona in the beautiful Batch Skip Tracing Studios, and a big shout out to our sponsor, batchskiptracing.com, where you go to get the most accurate phone numbers for the properties that you're trying to get a hold of. Oh my gosh, this topic is on fire, right? Especially as we're starting out. We learn really quickly that when we're talking to a property owner, we need to learn 4 things every time we talk to a property owner. Okay, we call these the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying. All right, the first one is the condition of the property. The second one is their timeline to sell. Their third one is their motivation. And their fourth one is the price. But when it all comes down, when we get the condition and we know when they want their money and we understand what their problem is and what their motivation is, but for some reason we can't pull the price out of them. And we kind of get stuck, and then we kind of flail, and we hope and we pray that their numbers match up to our numbers and that we actually have a genuine lead to work with. All right? And so I want to give you the tools. I want to show you how to pull the price out of the seller every single time. And I am telling you, if you follow these instructions, you are going to be armed, you're going to feel bulletproof, and you're going to be able to go out there and understand if these property owners are willing to do business with you and if they're realistic with their prices. Because the fact is, we start having a good conversation with a property owner and we're feeling good and we're feeling warm and we're feeling fuzzy, but then all of a sudden it comes to that sticking point, right? It's almost like we're across the table, we're playing poker and we're across the table and we're seeing, who's going to show their cards first. And it gets that's where the friction starts. That's where you start pulling away that relationship that you're built. It starts to kind of get pulled away and you're trying to figure out what price they want and they're trying to figure out how much you're willing to offer, and you're kind of playing this game of chicken. Well, I'm going to show you how to not have to do that and how to effectively pull that price out of them. But before we do, let's start working on our mindset, all right? I can show you every part of the wholesaling process. I can show you the strategy for building wealth. I can show you how to be a real estate entrepreneur and investor. But if our mind is not right, we don't do anything. We're stuck in neutral, like our vocab word from last week. So let's go to the board real quick. Go. This right here. This is what I'm talking about, okay? This is a very crude drawing, all right? But this is the bridge that we all have to cross, right? This is the bridge from the faith that you believe that you can do this business, right? You believe that you can get a deal. You believe that you can get an opportunity, to crossing it over to it being a fact. Now listen, this is what starts you. This is that fire that's in your belly. This is that thing that you're like, you know what? I'm different than other people. I don't want to work a 9-to-5 my whole life. I have faith that I have more to offer the community and to offer my family than just working and being kind of like the average, worker bee that's stuck in the rat race every single day. You have that faith that you can do more. Right? So let's start there. You can do more, but you got to cross this bridge to the fact. And once you do this, then all of a sudden, once you get to the point where you are actually getting the money coming in, it's going into your bank account, you are seeing the effects of what you're doing out there in the community, then all of a sudden you're off and running. Now you just rinse and repeat. Now you just keep going and going and going and going. Once you get a deal done, it's rinse and repeat and building and figuring out what to do with all these opportunities that are coming your way, but it starts with faith. But what do we do along the lines? We take little actions, the little steps to cross this bridge from faith to fact. Starts with, driving for dollars, right? Getting in your car, driving for dollars, getting the phone number for that property, calling them, right? Actually calling them up and seeing if they would consider an offer, pre-qualifying them, lead follow-up, offer presentation, and closing that deal. I am telling you, boom, just like that. That is how you cross the bridge from faith to fact. All right, and it's these little steps, but along the way you need the instruction, and that's what I want to give you here during this live show over the 2 hours that we go live every single Wednesday. I want to give you the instruction, the actual action items to use so that you can cross this bridge from faith to fact. Isn't that incredible? So you've got the instruction, but this is the part. This is what I really want you to focus on right here, is having the courage to do it, right? Having the courage to take these actions, having the courage to pick up the phone and have a quality conversation with a distressed property owner. This is the part. This is what separates the people that have a dream and then the people that actually accomplish that. Right? The people that have that dream of building up a wonderful real estate portfolio, of getting the passive cash flow, of taking advantage of all the tax advantages that you get from owning real estate, all those things, when you get to this fact, when you actually are closing on opportunities, you need the courage. And this is huge, and this is understated, and I think that this is something that is kind of missing from all the little different, maybe it's a podcast you listen to, or the YouTube videos, or the whatever, some mentors that you have locally, but you have to have the courage. This needs to be talked about more, is having the courage to go out there. That's why we celebrate everywhere. That's why I ring this bell. I celebrate the courage that you have to take the action on the instruction that you get, because at this point, you deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be celebrated. You deserve that bell to ring and ring and ring, and to have that energy, right? That energizing enthusiasm that comes with it, that comes with when you close these deals, the fact that you can do it again and again and again and again. But it starts with having the courage to do so. Because courage, you can have all the instruction in the world, but if you don't have courage, you're stuck in neutral, right? You're stagnant, you're static. Right? Without that courage and without the instruction, the courage, you kind of you go out there and you make a lot of mistakes. And I want you to kind of skip to the front of the line, get the instruction that's actually going to be useful for you so that you can go out and make a difference in your community. Next, we did it last week and I really liked it. Mike and I had a lot of fun with it. The vocab, boom, right here. The vocab for this week. These are the words that I want you to start switching out and start playing around with, start experimenting with, right? Words, instead of saying, oh, I got to work today. Oh, I worked today. Oh, it's this work that I'm doing. How about progress that you're making? How about we're making progress? Progress feels so positive. Progress feels like you're moving forward. Progress feels like the wind's behind your back. Feels like you're building the momentum. Progress. It's not work, it's progress. What did you do? I made progress today. I got in my car and I drove for dollars today. I picked up the phone and I called 3 people today. Progress, progress, progress instead of work. Work just kind of feels like it's restrictive. Work feels like you're kind of stuck in a box. But progress is unlimited. Progress is the field is wide open, right? Next is connect. That looks terrible. But connect instead of rapport. I don't even know. The word rapport to me feels very weird. I don't know. Is it French? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but rapport is just an interesting word. It gets thrown around, and I think it's often misunderstood. But basically what we're doing is we're connecting. We're connecting with other people in our community. We're connecting in the communities that we're working with. We're connecting with other real estate investors. We're connecting with other business professionals. We're connecting with family members. We're connecting. But connect feels so much better, right? That feels like we're building something. And that's so incredibly valuable. So start trying to put in the words connect instead of rapport. And then earn. I love this. Instead of I made this money, or I make this much money, or I did this, earn. You earned it. You earned it. Earn feels so much better. It's so much more positive than, yeah, I made $20,000. You earned $20,000. When you feel that you've earned it, believe it or not, sometimes when we make massive amounts of money, we almost feel like, oh my gosh, like I made that, but did I really, like, did I earn it, right? But if you start taking this word and understanding that your income is equal to the amount of value you provide to your community, to your marketplace, man, that's when the magic happens. That's when you go with confidence. That's when you protect that money that you earned and you invest it instead of just spending it. Remember, when we earn income, we have two options. You can invest it or you can spend it. That's it. But that is money that you earned from the value that you provided to the marketplace. So start thinking about these words. Start putting these into your brain. Start speaking these words, and you're going to be in a lot better place. You're going to feel a lot more positive and a lot more powerful. All right? Does that make sense, Mike?
Dude, that bridge drawing was pretty epic.
It is. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into why we're all here. Let's talk about pulling the price out of these property owners. And when you do, it's magnificent, all right? It's special. It is incredible because the beautiful thing is the biggest deals that you're going to do is when, and the biggest deals that I've always done is when the seller gives me the price first. All right, that's the biggest deals. Because what happens is we go in assuming we know what people want for their property. But when you ask them how much they would take for their property, it's really interesting. About every 90 days or so in our business, somebody throws out a number that is absolutely ridiculous. They want a price that is unbelievable. I mean, we've had somebody that on Zillow, the property was worth $212,000. The owner wanted $9,000. All right. We've had another one where the Zillow was at $480,000. The seller wanted $260,000. Okay. Listen, don't make those assumptions. Don't start getting into your head and assuming you know how much the seller wants for the property. That's why I want to give you these tools to be able to pull these prices out of the property owner. All right, because if you can pull it out, you have the opportunity to get some massive deals. And the fact is, massive deals are the rocket fuel for our business. You know, having a big, healthy, heavy bank account opens up a lot of opportunities. And it opens up your schedule if you're working. If you need to replace your income by one deal, one conversation, it happens all the time. It happens every single day. And if other people can do it, so can you. So let's get into some of the scripting, some of the words that I want you to use so that you can start pulling the price out of the property owner. Now remember, to set the ground floor, we need to pre-qualify our sellers, our property owners, 100% of the time. All right, condition, timeline, motivation, price. This will set it up. The longer you have a conversation with a property owner, the more likely they are to open up with what they want for that property. Because remember, when you're calling somebody up and you're having that conversation, they still have that natural force field up. We need to bring that force field down, and we need to communicate and ask really good questions and to see what their expectations are. All right, so right off the bat, this is in the TTP script. If you don't have the TTP script, you can download it at ttpinsider.com. All right, this is right in the script. When you ask them if they would consider an offer on their property and they say yes, don't freak out. All right, this is where most people freak out. It's not when they say no or maybe or how much will you give me. It's when people say, yes, I do want to sell my property. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to give them the benefits so that they understand like what's in it for them, and then ask them how much they would consider for an offer. So, well, we purchase properties cash. We pay all the closing costs. There's no real estate commissions. And the best part is we buy them completely as is. So you don't have to put another cent into the property. So for an offer like that, how much would you take? Right? This is your first step. This is your first step into it, right? When they say yes, when you ask them, would you consider an offer? And they say yes to you, and you are like, yes, this is finally, somebody said yes. This is how I want you to respond. Give them the benefits, and then ask them how much they would take. Now, if they don't give you the offer, I'm going to go through some more here so that you can start pulling these things out. But that is what I want you to respond when they say yes. Got it? Okay, good. Next is when you're having a conversation with them and you ask them if they would consider an offer, and they go with you, they hit you with, well, how much are you going to offer me? Or I haven't really looked into it. I'm not really sure. You called me. We get these all the time. I'm sure if you're making calls right now, you have had these responses. How much will you give me? You called me. You tell me. You're the one buying. You give me your offer first, and we'll see if it works, right? And so you're trying to pull this out. And asking about the condition is important, right? The condition is really important to the price that I can offer you. Can you tell me, have you remodeled the kitchen and bathrooms in the last 5 years? And now they start talking, and then they start talking. And then you can say something like, well, it looks like you've owned this property for a while. What have your neighbors sold their properties for, right? Like if you're looking this property up and you hit that Zillow button when you're making your calls, and you're looking at the property and you're seeing when they bought it and they've owned this property for a while, you ask, it looks like you've owned this property for a while. Like what are the neighbors around you selling for? The reason I ask this question is because I want to know how engaged they are in their neighborhood. Because if they start rattling off the prices of everybody that has sold, that sets an expectation. Now you understand. Oh, okay. They know exactly what they want for this property, right? When they start saying, well, my neighbor sold for this and the one on the other street sold for this, it gives you a better idea of how prepared they are to respond to the offer that you're about to throw at them. Or they're just trying to, kind of stiff arm you a little bit and give you those prices. But it gives you a really good indication. If they start saying, well, Bill sold his house for $220 and Melinda sold her house for $250, and then you can ask, okay, is that the price range that you're looking at? It's pulling the price out of them, but it's going kind of through the window, right? You asked them what they would take for the property. They closed the front door, so now you're going in through the side window. You're asking them what the neighbors are selling their properties for. All right, and it's a really, really, really easy tactic to try to see what their expectations are and what they know about their neighborhood. All right, and if they know a lot, I'm telling you, they're going to want close to retail price for that property, or close to the prices that they're talking about. And oftentimes, the properties that they are talking about have been completely renovated. All right?
Hey, Brent, so I got a quick question.
Yep.
So number 2, is that an alternative to the script where it's like, homes like yours are selling for X, and you throw out, a percentage of the Zillow number?
Yep.
Is that what you were thinking? Is that an alternative? And then how do you decide where you're going to use which one?
Yeah, that's perfect. It is an alternative, and I love using... I love throwing out the numbers if I have to, but this is like a first pass, right? This is like, hey, listen, what are your neighbors selling for? I just want to see how up to date they are, because if they're really up to date and I'm throwing out a super low ball, the conversation's going to go nowhere. So I want to know how engaged they are. If it kind of lets you know if they're searching on Zillow, or if they're Googling their address and looking at the values. You know what I mean? They're on Zillow or Redfin or eAppraisal or something like that, where they have an idea, right? They know they want to sell their property and they're just doing some research. I want to know how much research they've done in their neighborhood.
So if you drop number 2 on them and they don't give you an answer, then do you go into that second part?
Yeah. There's a couple other tactics to pull out here. Yep. All right, number 3. I love this one. This is one that my former acquisition manager, Julie, used to use every single time, and she would pull out a number like 95% of the time, Mike. I'm telling you, this one, every property owner that we've worked with or talked to, if you haven't worked with anybody, don't lie, right? Every property owner that I've talked to has a magic number in mind, that if they get that number, they'll sell their property. What would that number be, right? Like, hey, listen, you want to make them feel like they're part of the group, right? Like every seller that we've talked to, every property owner that we've worked with has a magic number. They have a magic number in mind, and if they get that magic number, they sell their property. So what would that magic number be for you? Right? This is a great way to try to see if they're willing to give you that number, because they want to feel like, oh, this is commonplace. Most people do this. I guess that makes sense, right? In our mind, we want to be part of the community. It's like in our brain, we want to be, if other people are doing it, well, that it seems like that's probably the way that things are done, right? So every property owner that I've talked to has a magic number in mind. If they hit that number, if they get that number, then they're ready to sell that property. What would your magic number be? It is a great question, right? This is if they keep stiff arming you, Mike. This is if they're still like, no, you give me a number. You give me a number.
Say, it looks like you're just kind of circling around, poking holes.
Yep. Yeah, I want to try different ways to pull out the number so that, it's not just that I throw out a number right away and hope and pray that it works, right? Because the biggest deals, it says right there in beautiful gold lettering, biggest deals happen when they give you the number first. All right. Number 4. I love this. This is kind of working the numbers a different way. Okay. If you totally fixed up this property, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what do you think it would sell for if it was in perfect condition? Right. And then just wait. What do you think it would sell for if it was in perfect condition? Well, if it was in perfect condition, I think it would go for $500,000. Okay, great. And how much do you think it would cost to get it in perfect condition? Now, all of a sudden, they start telling you all the things that are wrong with the property. They start telling you all that maybe they had some contractor bids already for the repairs that they just couldn't afford, or just didn't want to go through it, or they just didn't have the time in their schedule, in their life. They just didn't want to do it. Right? So, what if it was totally fixed up, what does it sell for? That's a great baseline, because that lets you know their expectation, and then the amount that they tell you that it'll cost to fix it up will kind of let you know where they're thinking their price will be. And then you can start hitting them with, okay, and then of course, if you invested that and you sold it at top dollar, you would have to put it on the market. That'll cost you 8% typically with a real estate agent and closing cost. So you're starting to chip away at that top line number in perfect condition. And I love saying that, Mike. I love saying in perfect condition, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I just upgraded the floors, or I just upgraded, I just painted the walls, or I just bought a new refrigerator, or whatever else. We just put a new roof on. But in perfect condition sets it aside. Perfect condition is like show ready. Perfect condition is HGTV, right? Perfect condition is like a professional person came in and they staged it, and it's beautiful and it's up to date and it's modern and all these things, right? So in perfect condition, what do you think it would sell for, and how much do you think it would cost to get this in perfect condition? All right.
And most of these properties are way far away from perfect condition.
Yeah. If we do our job right, that is why pulling the right lists are so critical. You want to pull lists where the property owner has owned that property for at least 7 years. The property was built before 1990, and hopefully you're doing your driving for dollars. Hopefully you're going after the signs of distress, whether it be probate, inherited, pre-foreclosure. Maybe it's a landlord that's owned this property for a long time, and it's just kind of falling into disrepair. All of these things are in your favor. Right? That's why when we pull our list, we take every property in your area, in your market, in your county, in your city, in your state, whatever it is, and we filter it down to the properties that are in distress. That's 6 to 10% of the market that is in distress at all times. All right. And then from there, you're having these conversations. And when you're talking to them and you understand that these properties are not in perfect condition, you ask them if it was in perfect condition, then all of a sudden you start pulling out the numbers, right? They're like, oh, well, I know it would sell for this and it would cost this. And now all of a sudden that price is getting lower and lower and lower. And you start understanding what their expectations are. There you go. Number 5 is just a simple, I think everybody has used this in any kind of negotiating at some point in their life. I won't hold you to it, but if you can give me a ballpark of what price you would take so I'm not wasting your time, what would that be, right? I won't hold you to it, but can you give me the ballpark of kind of what you're thinking? I'm not going to hold you to it, but at least it lets us know. And I just don't want to be wasting your time. And I don't like, some people throw in there, I don't want to be wasting your time. I don't want to be wasting my time. Listen, they don't care about your time. They don't. They care about their time. So that's why I put it in there. I don't want to be wasting your time. All right. And I think that is kind of like, it's the simple, it's the most used, people on the other end, the property owners are kind of used to that. Like, ballpark, I'll throw it out. Right. And I think that this is probably the weakest of the 6 that we have on here, but at least, if they are truly motivated, they're going to throw something out. And it gives you another little tactic to use. If you feel like they're a little bit softer, you don't want to be as aggressive. You don't want to hit them with, how much do you think it would sell for if it was in perfect condition, because they're kind of timid on the phone or they're kind of slower speaking. Then you could throw out this one, and it's a really good question to ask. Just give me a ballpark. I won't hold you to it. What are you thinking? I don't want to waste your time. Right? And you're just kind of pulling back at that point. You're pulling back, and you're not trying to chase them. All right? And then the 6th, this is honestly the one that, once you've used these other tactics, you've used these scripts, you've asked these questions, they still won't give you anything, or they're just super aggressive, driver type personalities. They've had a bazillion calls. They're getting fed up. They just want to know, what will you offer me? What is going on? I do want to sell. I've got a bill. I've had 10 calls today, but what will you offer me? Right? And at that point, you got to hit them. You got to hit them right between the eyes. You got to take a shot. You got to take a shot and see if you're anywhere close. And I'm telling you, when you take this shot and it works, woo, you feel so good. Oh, you've got a hot lead. Oh, that you've got the potential to do something great here. That you are good. You've got a really good chance of getting this property under contract. And it looks like your seller, and I love this because it takes the shine off of them and it puts it on the neighborhood. What are the neighbors selling for in similar condition? It looks like your neighbors are selling their homes, or properties depending, selling their homes that are in similar condition to yours for, and I like throwing out 50% of Zillow price if they're under 250,000. If that number's under 250,000, I like throwing out 50%. If it's over 250,000, I like throwing out 66%. All right, and you're just taking a shot across the bow. You're just trying to pull that out, because here's the thing. You might be having a great conversation. They might tell you the condition, and it's rough, and they know it needs repair. And their timeline is, hey, listen, Brent, if I could sell this yesterday, I would. Okay, great. And their motivation. I've had tenants in there forever. They beat it up. I don't want to deal with it anymore. It's just a headache. I want to get rid of it. And now you get to the price. You're like, oh, I'm almost there. I'm going to get on this appointment. I'm going to run out there, and I'm going to get this contract signed. And then you throw out this price. And when they say, that's in the ballpark, or that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yes, you are going on a qualified appointment. You're not just out there spinning your wheels, right? You're not just out there, well, I'm going to just go on this appointment to get experience in front of a seller. I get it, but I'd rather you get contracts signed and get it through and get paid, right? That's the best experience. Truly is the best experience, is going through the whole process. And so I throw it out. 50 to 60%, it looks like your neighbors are selling for, in similar condition, for around 120,000. Is that kind of what you were thinking? And you're kind of nodding on the phone. You're kind of like, yeah, I bet that's what you're thinking. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Your neighbors are selling for that. That would work, right? And you're just kind of, confirming and being real positive about throwing that number out. And with that certainty and that likability, that's when things start opening up. Right? You hit them with certainty and likability when you throw out that number. You're not just being aggressive. You're not just being short. You're not just like, boom, this is what I'll give you. It doesn't even commit you to a price yet. You're just telling them, oh, this is what your neighbors are selling for in similar condition. Is that what you were thinking? One, they're like, oh, okay, my neighbors are selling for that. Typically, properties are based on what the neighborhood's selling for, what the other neighbors have sold for. So, okay, that makes sense. And then you've got it. You've got it, because either way, listen to me. Either way, when you throw out that price, if you have to throw out that price, which I prefer that you don't, you've gone through all those different tactics. You're trying to ask them about the value of the property, what they think and what they want for this property, and they won't answer you, and you take that shot across the bow and it lines up with their expectations, that's when you get the deal. That's when you run over as fast as possible and you get into that, you get in front of that seller, or you send them that contract via some sort of electronic signature, and get that contract signed right away. Like speed, speed, speed. Time kills all deals. Don't have all of those done and then be like, well, I'll meet you next Monday. Get out there right now. Get in front of them because they are ready to go. And that's what I want. I want you to try to pull the price out of them. If they're not willing to give you that price, then you got to take a shot. That's how you get the price out of every single seller. Either they're going to give it to you by using these creative tactics, or you're going to take a shot across the bow and they're going to tell you what their expectations are. And the best part, this is incredible, because it's not just the times. It's not just the times that they say, no, I don't want an offer, or no, I won't take it. It's when they say yes. When they say yes to that, that's what builds, that's what gets you further down that bridge from faith to fact. And that is what is so critical. And that's what I want. I want you to be able to go out there confidently and speak confidently to strangers about their property, pre-qualify them, follow up with them, go on the offer presentation, get that contract signed, and then the door is wide open for whatever exit strategy you want. What questions, Mike? What do you got? Anything? Good?
Dude, that was
Did
great.
we cover it?
No, we're good.
Okay, good. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you're wondering, what does this look like in real life? I'll show you. If you follow this, this is an example, and I'm telling you, this is just pure from my cell phone. I get texts from my students every single day, and this is what it looks like. This is just from the last 3 days. Check this out right here. This is evidence. I want to pump you up. I want to get you excited of what of the messages that I get from people that go through this process, pre-qualify, get the seller to give them a price, and what happens. Matt, will you hit that? Boom. Mm-hmm. Yep. 135. Incredible. Right there, that one's 5,000, 19 years old, 23K, 52K in the last 7 days, 10K, I'm telling you, 32.5, 52.5 in June. I mean, absolutely incredible, guys. I get these texts every single day.
Dude, we got the rhino, we got the explosions, got all that money.
Did you hear that? The rhino. We didn't hear it in studio, but I heard it before. I mean, that is what a rhino sounds like.
Hey, but you know, Brent, I did want to say this. You know,
yeah.
I haven't seen you break this down this way, because in the script it goes straight for the jugular.
Yep.
To where this is more like you're dancing around, really trying to pull it out, and if you can't get it, then you finally go for the jugular.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, listen, you know, a lot of the times people get tripped up when people ask them, how much will you give me? You know, it's almost like people are pre-programmed because they're getting a lot of calls or texts or whatever, that they just hit them with, how much will you give me? How much will you give me? Well, when they hit you with how much will you give me, you got to hit them. That's when the dance starts. Or when they say yes, and you ask them, you give them all the benefits, and then you ask them how much would they take, and they're like, well, I don't know. Then you start going into the condition and timeline and motivation, and then we start circling back to the price. Okay, totally fixed up. What do you think this property sells for in perfect condition? If it was absolutely HGTV beautiful, what do you think this property would sell for? And you're just trying to pull it out and trying to pull it out. And if you're going and getting the condition and their timeline and their motivation, and you're staying on the phone, and you've got a good energizing enthusiasm about what you're doing, they are going to communicate with you, and they're going to eventually give you the price. Yeah. It's incredible. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to pull out those opportunities so that you are the one getting those checks and moving and going from faith to fact. And once you do that the first time, all of a sudden your brain is changed forever. All of a sudden it is possible. All of a sudden you know you can do it. That gives you ultimate confidence to keep going and keep fueling this dream. But it takes those little actions, the instruction to action, and having the courage to actually do it. That's it. You have that courage to pick up the phone and communicate. Have that courage to do your lead follow-up. Have that courage to go out there and find the most distressed property owners in your marketplace, and with a servant's heart, go out there and communicate with them and see if they're ready to sell that property. Because inevitably, when we're driving around in any city in the United States, there are always properties that are getting older every single day. Properties that are not getting taken care of, properties that are falling into disrepair. It is an unlimited supply, and the fact is they will have to sell that property at some point, and they either have to dump a bunch of money, which most of them don't have, into that property, or they have to sell it to a cash buyer. It might as well be you. And this is how you find out what their expectations are. That's how you find out what your lead follow-up is going to look like. That's when you find out and start working with them to try to get them reasonable with their price. And when you're doing that, and you're in that, and you're on that journey, and you're doing that every single day, you are going to feel absolutely electric. You're going to feel so pumped. There are going to be shots of dopamine going off in your brain every single day if you're being proactive and having quality conversations with distressed property owners and pre-qualifying them. And when you pull out that price, it's going to happen to you. You're going to follow these instructions. You're going to get them to give you a price, and you are going to be absolutely floored. You will literally be breathless. They'll tell you a number while you're looking at Zillow, and Zillow has it at like 350,000, and they throw out, I want 180 for it, and you're like, yeah, that seems like that could be a price that could be in the ballpark, that could be in the range, and I'm going to be in the neighborhood in the next half hour. Are you home? Can I stop by? Can we meet each other and see if we'd like to work together and make this happen? Okay, great. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Boom, 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 right? You are just going to be absolutely shocked and breathless when people throw out a price, and you are going to go, you know what? Brent was right. Brent was right. So there you go. Boom. We'll open this up. Let's open this up to any comments and questions, guys. Unfortunately, our internet is getting updated or upgraded in the next week or so, and the phone system takes up a lot of that, and it kind of makes the show kind of lag, and I don't want that. So we're just going to do comments here today, and I'll keep you posted on when we can do live calls, because I love that. I love getting down and really getting deep into what's going on and what your questions are. So, Kenneth, do you call for more than one list each day? I think I've heard you say call your D for D stalker list every day. Yep. Then you never get rid of that. You never get rid of, but you go through other lists twice and move on. Yes. I like going through the list twice because the third time you call through a list, it's really hard to get a high contact rate. You just don't get as high of a contact rate. And if you're not talking to a lot of people, it's tough to get a lot of leads, obviously. So call through the list twice, and I switch it up all the time. When I was making calls, I would switch it up every half hour. I would switch it up every hour. I would want something fresh. It just felt like a new, fresh list to call. I mean, it's the same conversations. It's just a different list. So I like switching that up, especially if you're like, if people are hanging up, or they're just like, no, I don't want to sell. No, I don't want to sell. And you want to kind of get your energy up. You don't want to feel the weight of the rejection. Switch it up to a different list, try it out, and see if you're having better conversations. Yeah, great question. And I love calling the Driving for Dollars list every day, because you know that they're going to have to sell at a discount at some point. You know. You absolutely know. Some of these other ones, like pre-foreclosure or probates, or inherited, or some of these tired landlords, you're not sure if they've remodeled it or in the process of remodeling it, if you're just pulling it off of a list from like PropStream or something like that. So Driving for Dollars, call every single day. Just make it part of your day. If it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, hour. I have some people that's all that they call, and they do fantastic. So great question, Kenneth. How can I calculate an offer for vacant land? Do I use the 20% rule? Yes. Jose, that is a great question. So first of all, make sure that the land that you're going after for now, if you want bigger wholesale fees, is in town. All right, make sure that it's in town. So make sure that it's part of a neighborhood and there's houses built around it, and that is going to give you the biggest fees. Now, what Jose's talking about here with the 20% rule is you take the best property, the most fixed up property. Hopefully it's something that was built recently. If you can get a brand new house, that's the best. But if not, find the most recent flip, the properties that are in perfect condition. And then a builder will look at that and say, okay, I can pay about 20% for the land for that project, right? Or 20% is about what a neighbor will want to buy that for, right? A neighbor that wants to double their lot size, or they don't want somebody to build something goofy next to them, they will buy, typically right in that 20% of what a house would sell for in that neighborhood is what they're willing to pay for that property. So when you're looking at it, just go, okay, this property is a brand new house, or a totally perfect house sells for $200,000. Somebody will buy this lot for $40,000. I need to be at whatever, $20,000, right? Whatever you want your spread to be, make sure that you go under that. But typically 20% is what neighbors and builders will pay for a vacant lot in a neighborhood. Good question. I get a lot of questions about land, and I love it. I think we've done a good job of showing people that they can make a lot of money there.
A lot more recently.
Yeah. And well, I've seen it happen all the time. People that are like, oh, I call all these homeowners and they reject it and they slam it. And then I call the vacant land and it's wide open. So going back to Kenneth's question about switching up your list, vacant land, you got this. James, what is a quit claim deed? A quit claim deed is essentially just, a property owner typically will just deed over a property and it doesn't really go through title. It's not a warranty deed. It doesn't protect you as much. And it's just quit claiming the deed over to them. And it's typically used when people are scamming for real. People will go, oh yeah, I'll just do this quit claim deed, but we don't have to go through title. You just give me 10 grand or whatever, and I'll sign the document and give it to you. So I'd be real cautious about quit claim deeds.
Or a lot of investors use it just to like transfer the property from like
yeah.
to a personal name or back.
If
That's
it's like
great.
family or a close relationship, but if it's not, you got to be careful.
Yeah. It's typically used. Yeah, right. If you bought it personally and you want to quit claim deed it into your LLC or something and not go through title, or you want to give it to a family member, that's great. But for the most part, you're going to want a warranty deed on that property, and you're going to want it to go through the title company. Christopher, there he is. Hey, Brent, this may be a dumb question. Never is. But what would you typically wear to appointments? I'm assuming dressing up and suit days are over, LOL. Yeah, I think that... it just depends. Number one, you want to be well groomed, right? Some people, some people go and they look slobby and they get deals signed up, and that's okay. But I think you're going to have a big advantage if you go and you have either a polo on or a button-up shirt or a really nice T-shirt even. But just make sure that your shoes are clean. Make sure that your fingernails are clean. Make sure that your hair's done. Make sure that you're bright-eyed and you have enthusiasm and you have the energy. Remember, if
deodorant, your breath doesn't smell.
Yeah, brush your teeth, wear deodorant.
Come on.
And listen, the better you feel, the better you look, the better that you're going to feel. So it's a personal preference, but I think a suit is way over the top, depending on what market you're in. If you're in a more formal market, that's fine. But for the most part, you don't have to go in there like you're, this big time successful person. You can communicate that with the way that you treat them. Yeah, good question. Awesome. All right, David, I want to run a comp. Here we go. Let's do this thing. I love it. All right, let's run the comp here. This is in Georgia. Okay, seller wants $459,000. I think it can be a short sale opportunity if they can't get the price. What will you offer? All right, interesting. Well, let's get in here, guys. I'm going to be using PropStream, and that is powered by ttpdata.com. ttpdata.com. And we're going to get in here. So we are at 7236 Glen Cove Lane, Stone Mountain. There we go. Okay, perfect. And if you could pull this up, we're going to look at the details here. Interesting. Look at the estimated value that they have on it versus what the seller is expecting. Really interesting. So I'm going to look at this. First thing I always look at, I want to get the lay of the land. Look at this. Look at that, Mike, on the water. We don't have that in Arizona. We've got, okay, so it backs to the lake. It's got a little bit of a dock there. Let's take a look here. And I want to see, is this property, see this listen to me. This is a beautiful property, all right? And I understand that, maybe they have, it looks like they have a lien on this. They might have some distress. But I would say just my instincts, their best bet is probably to put this on the market. But let's comp this thing and look at it and see what the expectations are. Because just from the outside, look at the landscaping. Look how well, look how this is all taken care of. You got a G-Wagon over here hanging out. You've got all these other cars. You got a little, what are those things called? Mini Coopers. Yeah. All right. So there we go. I'm looking at this lien. It's an HOA lien, which is interesting. So they've got an HOA lien on this property of $2,277. That's interesting to me that they're not paying their HOA, which means that they might not be paying their mortgage, right? And because of the forbearance that's going on, maybe it's not getting reported. But they pulled out $319,000 in 2019. Now they've owned this for 14 years. If you look at this, they bought it for $385 at the height of the market. Oh my gosh. So they bought it for $385. They refinanced to get their payment down lower. They've got an estimated balance of $307 on this property. All right, so let's look at the comps. All right, and first what I like to do is I like going to the neighbors. And I like seeing what the neighbors are selling for. This one's bananas. I'm not sure what's going on there. But you've got one here that's 20. So ours is 3,000 square feet. This one's 2,700 in the same neighborhood. Went for 310. All right. Let's take a look at this and see. Look at this place. Look at that. Okay. Ooh, a little rough. Need some cosmetic on this thing. All right. And it's 2,700 square feet. Let's see if it backs to the water. View map. It does not. Okay, so this one's in the neighborhood, does not back to the water. All right, I want to find these properties that back to the water, but you can go down here and look in here and see some of these properties. We've got our subject property here, number 2. Probably sold a while ago. We've got a 410 here. This is interesting. 3,200 square feet. Built in the same time. Over a year ago at 410. All right, interesting. Let's take a look at this. Oh, yeah. Now we've got a beautiful house. 410 a year ago. Right? Backing to the water. Just magnificent. Look at this place. Look at this place. I love it. Oh, with a pool and a jacuzzi. Come on.
410.
What? This has got to be the community. Yeah, this is the community. Okay. Okay, got it. But beautiful house. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful house. 410 this time last year. Things have gone up for sure. So let's take a look at the comparables. All right. So we're looking in this area. We got number 1 here. Went for 310. That's the one that just sold in the neighborhood that's not on the water. You've got number 9 here, 365 on the water, 2,900 square feet, good size property. I mean, Yeah, I mean, like my instincts here are telling me that that one went for 410 on the water, beautiful, and this one is on the water, could be beautiful, probably is beautiful. I'd say four now, a year later, 450. Do I have anything that looks that? Nope, nothing looks that high, so I need to be conservative. And man, I'm thinking that this thing is probably, let's see what number 2 here. Let's see what that looks like. This one sold for 260. There's no details on that. I would put this property right there at, I just can't see over 400, but the market's phenomenal. We've got, let me look at both here just to see if we've got some other ones that are popping up. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, 3,500 square feet went for 430. It's an older property, so ours is newer. Let's look at this. On the water. Okay, great. Does it have any pictures of it? It should. But anyway, I would put this thing at about 430,000, and then you're going to have to work backwards. So they've got a mortgage on it for 307, just depending on how much a 3,000 square foot house needs. Let's break this down real quick. We've got ARV at 435. Mike, you're helping me?
Yep.
And then times that by times 0.84 equals
365 for
365 400. And they've got a, let's just say it just needs a refresher. It looks like a new property. It was built in the 2000s. Let's put it in there for 30,000. So we're at 335 is your wholesale. So you got to be under that. So I'd probably be at 315 on that, which is fine. They've got enough equity. It just depends on if they're behind on their
315.
Yeah. Yep, that's where I would be. They've got a loan balance at 307. It just depends on if they have a ton going on. And if they want 459, you're obviously way far away from that, David. So I think that they think that it's worth 459 because that one sold over a year ago at 410. And depending on their condition, maybe it does. Maybe it does. I mean, we've got it up there at 435. 459 doesn't seem unreasonable. It's in the ballpark, but they basically want retail, brother.
So based on those numbers, we try to get it at 315, wholesaler for 335, and okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but they're just, their expectations are retail.
Yeah,
I mean, they want 459.
makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. From IG, if I made $20,000 on my first deal, should I buy a multi and rent out the other units? Oh, the classic house hack, Mike. Right? You buy a multifamily, you live in one, and sure. I mean, listen, it's a fantastic strategy. Obviously, depends on where you're at in the country and depends on what the prices are for multifamily, right? But if you can put 20K down and get a property that you can house hack, that's awesome. I would rather you do it after your 10th deal than your first deal. Make sure that you're paying off your consumer debt so that you're not working for somebody to pay the interest to either a bank or whatever else. Make sure that you're not stuck in that interest payment loop. So I would make sure that you pay off whatever consumer debt that you have and then start building your real estate portfolio from there. Because that is going to put you on level ground, and now you're earning the money, and the money that you're making actually goes towards your wealth building and not towards building the wealth of the creditors that you owe interest to. So I always, find the opportunities, make the income, pay off your consumer debt, and then start buying replace your 9 to 5 so that you can do this full time, and then start building your portfolio. That's kind of the path to go so that you can be successful. All right? Good question. Posh Fox. Are there steps or strategies for building rapport? I find that could be hard. Listen to me. 2 words. We mentioned it before, Mike. 2 words. Certainty and likability. Certainty and likability. This is how you connect. It's get rid of the word rapport. This is how you connect with those property owners, is you're certain that you can fix their problem. You're certain about the price that you can offer them. You're certain about the process. You're certain that it can be as smooth as possible, and you are likable, right? Which means you listen to them, which means that your tone of voice is warm and inviting and engaging. That's the two words that you have to, that's how you build, and that's how you connect with those property owners, is certainty and likability, baby. Yep. And listen, I understand, but the reason you find that hard, Posh Fox, is because you got to build up that certainty. You build that certainty up because right now you might be living just on faith that you can do this, but as you start crossing that bridge to it being a fact and you start taking that action and following the instructions on this channel, I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot easier and you're going to feel a lot more certain. So make sure that if you haven't, get in TTP Insider and download all of the tools, all of the guides that you need so that you can feel certain and feel confident. Because once you start building up that confidence, you're going to be unstoppable. And that's how you really connect with people. All right. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. We put out unbelievable instruction, not just content. Oh, we do content. Watch my content, consume my content. No, we put out pure instruction every single day so that you can be out there and have that certainty and have that confidence out there. All right. Blake, I love it. Seller is talking to multiple buyers. How do I stand out and have them close with me? Well, a couple different things. One is you have to over communicate, right? You have to over communicate. You got to be there. You got to be in front of them. You got to be, you got to make sure that when they're ready to make the decision, they're thinking about you. And then the more conversations, the more reps that you have with that property owner, the more that you are going to connect with them, and they're going to be more likely to do business with you if you can compete with the other offers. Now remember, we are deal finders, not deal creators. So we want to make sure that you're not getting, too heavy with your price, because typically that's what it comes down to. Remember, when you're negotiating with anybody, when you're negotiating with any property owner, three things: price, terms, and you. That's what it comes down to. That's what negotiating comes down to when it comes to locking up these properties. So, but a lot of the times they're going to make that decision if you're close on price. So the best thing that you can do, Blake, is communicate with them, build that relationship with them so that they let you know where you need to be to win that deal. Now, if they're way above, the price that you're willing to go, congratulate them, tell them to take that offer and run, and you wish the absolute best for them. You want them to make the most that they can, and if that buyer is willing to give them more, then go for it. You know what I mean? The only little thing that I would sprinkle in there is if you know that the people that are throwing out offers are going to beat them up on price. They want to get the accepted offer, and then right before close, they get a huge price reduction. I would have that conversation. Listen, when you work with me, the price that I give you is the price that we are going to close at. Okay? You know what the expectation is. You know what's going to happen. With a different offer that's way higher, typically what happens, I'm just going to let you know, is they want to win the bid, and then they start beating you up week after week after week to get that price down. And when that happens, typically it ends up being at or less than what I'm willing to offer you. And you have to go through all that heartache, all that headache, all that brain damage, because they're constantly, my numbers were off and I didn't really understand how much repairs it needed, and all these other things are tools and tactics that some companies use to get get the accepted offer. And I don't want you to go through that. With me, you know that this is what you get. If you go with somebody else, the likelihood that they're going to start beating you up on price that's way above what I can offer you is really high, and I just don't want you to go through that. So that's something that I want you to consider. With me, it's guaranteed. We close it, and it gets done. So there's some tactics for you. Great question. Awesome. Infinity BP. What if I can't find a comp that is as large as this possible flip? Well, that is interesting. So this happens, right? This happens. Sometimes people add on to little houses. Sometimes people build big houses with little houses around them. Unfortunately, because they're in that neighborhood with those smaller houses, you have to like be right above the highest comp, even if it's way smaller. I mean, you could look around within a mile, which an appraisal will look at, but the fact is your cash buyers are looking at all the other houses in the neighborhood and they're going, oh, man, this is a big risk. This is a big risk if I buy the biggest house on the block and I invest a bunch of money into fixing it up. Can I really get a price that is, 50, 100, 200,000 more than what the other properties around here are selling for? So first, look at what the properties are selling for in the neighborhood, and if the ceiling in there is like 200,000, I would run my numbers like 50 grand higher, right? If it's 30,000, if it's 300,000, I'd maybe go 60 grand higher. But it's not like you can take the price per square foot of those smaller houses, put it on your bigger house, and expect the same thing. It's just not going to happen. So what you want to do is look all the way around, but I would look right in that neighborhood. I would see what the highest priced house is there, and then I would use that and add about 50, 60,000 typically. Just depends on where you're at and what those price points are. And the other thing you want to look at is if they built onto this property, was it permitted? Is it a funky floor plan? Do you have to go in? Did they close the garage and turn it into a second kitchen or something crazy? Did they add bedrooms that go through other bedrooms? This happens all the time. So the floor plan really matters. So if it's just a big house, just because it has square feet doesn't mean it has value. All right, just remember that. If it has square feet, it doesn't mean it has value. The floor plan matters and what the neighbors in the neighborhood are buying for, because this is a social thing. If you're buying a house that's 500,000 and your neighbors are 200,000, well, how did you afford the house that's 500 and all your neighbors can only afford houses that are 200,000? Right? It's like you want to be around people socially that can afford the things that you can afford. It's just human dynamics.
Brent, he did comment back saying
Okay.
that it was 7,500 square feet.
Oh,
All the comps
whoa.
are nowhere as being as it's from a small town.
Yeah.
It's a 5-6 vintage mansion on an 8-acre lot. The only comp he found was sold in 2018 for 2.2 million with 11 acres.
2 point. Okay. Yeah, it's just you're gonna have to take a shot. At this point, what I would do is I would call up whatever agent sold that property, and I would say, hey, listen, I'm looking at buying this property, totally fixed up. What do you think this sells for very quickly? That's what I would do. I would just call up that real estate agent. If you got PropStream, the info is right there. You could Google it, and typically the listing agent info will be at the very bottom of the Zillow page or right there on the side with Redfin. And I would call up that agent and I'd get inside information on what is going on. What were their buyers like? Who's buying? What price point? All those things. Yeah, absolutely. Good info. Thank you, Alan. That was good. Awesome. I'm hearing 260 to 320 is prime time range to wholesale. Why? Because the spreads are bigger. All right, Lato. I like that owl. He's got his own logo. It's fantastic. So 260 to 320 because it gives you a really nice range. See, if you're under that, what happens is the repair cost starts eating up the profits. So if you're in a neighborhood that sells for 200,000, but the property needs $50,000, you got to buy that thing way low. The fix and flipper or the rehabber or your cash buyer that's going to buy that property has to get that at such a significant discount that you have to get it at such a low price that the spreads typically are about 10 to 15,000. But in that price range that you're talking about, you can expect $20,000 to $30,000 deals. And listen, if you make more on the same amount of effort, I mean, that's what we all that's what we want. So that's why I always encourage any new TTP family member, any new TTP student to go into markets that are 150,000 or above for their ARV and to focus on those because you're going to get bigger deals, and bigger deals is going to speed up the momentum of your business. All right, good question. James, there he is. Yep. Brent personally taught me the 20% rule last night, and I literally locked up a land deal. There he is. $15,000 minimum profit. Come on. And by the way, James was on here last week and is crushing it. And it took a while. He was building up momentum and doing it. And now he is just putting in the work. He's making a ton of calls. He's having a ton of conversations. I know this because he sends me his reports. We go over it weekly. We look at his reports and go, okay, how many people have you talked to? How many leads? What's hot? What are you doing? What appointments are you going on? And now he's just off and running. 15K minimum profit. Let's get that to 25, James. Let's get that to 25. I love that. But look at that. First contract and a sign in 24 hours. That seems amazing, but the fact is he put in months of work to be at this. Months of work working on his certainty and likability. Months of work of talking to hundreds of property owners. And now it's starting to pay off. I'm telling you, that's that 90 days. You do this consistent 90 days, the momentum is going to carry you. Your pipeline of leads is going to carry you. The opportunities is just going to start to just spill over. I'm telling you, stay in the saddle. You do this consistently for 90 days and you are going to change your life. You do it with that energizing enthusiasm, it's going to change your life. You make it a priority, change your life. You start getting like you're plugged in like an iPhone charger. You're plugged in, it's charging up your batteries when you're making calls and going on appointments and comping properties, and it's just incredible. You're going to just feel electric. You're going to feel unbelievable. Mike, there he is. How are you handling sellers who, there's another TTP family member here. He was just in the office. Great guy, Mike. How are you handling sellers who have agreed to sell over the phone for a price, but they ghost you after you send the DocuSign? Oh, one of the most heartbreaking times, Mike. This is it. You put in all this work.
By the way, I just dropped an epic, ghost.
You did?
Oh yeah, on everybody.
The ghost,
Yeah.
the ghost sound.
Oh,
I need to get the earpiece back in.
He's back.
Yeah, I love it. So, a couple different things. Number one, I always suggest that you set a time in your schedule, an appointment with that property owner to go over the contract if you're going to send it as an e-signature, okay? As a professional courtesy, I go through the contract, and I'd love to do this over whatever, DocuSign, Zoom, a phone call, FaceTime, whatever you can do so that there's more connection there. The likelihood when you ask that question to schedule a time to go over the contract and sign it together, you are going to get their objections right away. No, I can't do that. I'll do it after work. Okay, great. I'm available whenever you are. When are you available? Love to go through it. Oh, no. You know what? I need to review it with my attorney. Okay, great. I'd love to jump on the phone with the attorney too. That would be great. Oh, you know what? I've got to pray about it, and I need some time, and I need to really think about this. Okay, great. Anything that I can answer to help you make this decision, because this is a big decision, and I want you to feel 100% confident when you sign that contract that you want to move forward and sell this property and get rid of whatever motivation there is, whatever headache there is, right? And so you just keep trying to get them to get on the phone. If they don't, okay, great. The other strategy is, as a professional courtesy, I send out a mobile notary. And it's not the contract doesn't need to be notarized, but they'll just walk you through and get it signed. What would be a great time to have them come to your house? 1:30 work, 2:30 work, they can come today. Most notaries are crazy people. I'm telling you, mobile notaries are the wildest people in this industry. I'm serious, right, Mike? I mean, they are literally on the road. You could text them or call them anytime. Literally, just Google mobile notary, and they will be out in like 15, 20, 30 minutes. It's incredible. They're like all over the place. They're like spread out everywhere. They have unlimited supply. Anyway, so I would just send a mobile notary out to them and have them get it signed right there. And if they have any questions, you get on the phone with them and just say, hey, listen, I'm going to be available while the notary's there. If you have any questions, I want you to call me so that we can answer any questions that you have and move forward. right? So a couple different strategies there. Just make sure it's all upfront. If you send it and just hope and pray, it gets really frustrating. It gets really frustrating, and you get like, oh man, maybe this isn't going to work. What's going on? Are they leveraging my offer? Did they get another offer? Is somebody else telling them something different? You know, I thought that we had a deal. I got the condition, the timeline, the motivation, the price, and we're ready to go. And now it feels like it's slipping through my fingers, right? So don't play that game. Just set it up. Be more professional about it. Set it in the schedule like you would if you were meeting them face to face. All right? Awesome. Hamilton, Brent, a foreclosure property when a husband and wife don't live together and are going through divorce. Ooh. Husband wants to sell the property, but the wife does not. What do you recommend me to do? Hamilton, you need to figure out what the divorce decree says. Who gets the property? You know, what does it say? Do they have to sell it so that they can split up the asset? Is that what they agree to? Is the husband getting the property? Is the wife getting the property? Unfortunately, if they are going through the divorce, maybe that decision hasn't been formally made or negotiated yet between the attorneys, the divorce attorneys, or themselves, if it's just like a mediation type of thing, and you need to figure out and have the conversation. I would probably have it with the husband and say, what's the likelihood that you're going to get the ownership of the property, and just see what he says. But when you get into that situation, you're like, oh, okay, I understand the distress. They got to get rid of this property. The relationship is over. You know, but if one wants the property and the other one doesn't, you got to see who is going to get it in the divorce. All right. Edgar, can you please repeat the 4 pillars? It's the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying, okay? Number 1, condition of the property, right? What is the condition of the property? What repairs need to be made to it? What upgrades have gone on in that property over the last 5 years? I love opening. You need to open up the conversation with the condition, because the property owner is more likely to communicate with you about the property, the condition, than they are about their emotions or their situation. All right. So you start with the condition, because the longer the conversation goes, the more likely you're going to open up that and open up the relationship, connect with them more, and they're going to tell you more about what's going on. So condition of the property.
And also, what's the main, just a leading question for condition? It's kitchen and bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
In the last
5 years.
5 years. Yep.
Yeah, I love asking about the condition of the property in the last 5 years, because it gives you an idea if they've invested in it recently. And if they have, that's a good indication that maybe they should just sell it retail, right? Number 2 is their timeline to sell, right? First is condition. Second one is timeline to sell. When do they want their money from this property? When do they want to get out from this situation? When do they want to close escrow on this transaction, okay? Number 3 is their motivation. What is their problem, right? People are going to trade speed, trade equity for speed and convenience only if there's a problem. What is the problem, right? If they want to just buy a bigger house, that's not a problem. That's a luxury. That's an upgrade. They just want to sell it because of convenience. Well, I've had this portfolio of properties for forever. It's the height of the market. I want to sell them for as much as I can. That's not a problem. You know, going through foreclosure is a problem. Not paying your taxes is a problem. Having judgments is a problem. Letting the property go in disrepair is a problem. These are the problems that you're trying to pull out. Having a family member that out of the kindness of their heart live there, and they haven't paid rent in 4 years, they haven't fixed up the property, and the property looks terrible and they're starting to get code violations on it, is a problem. So we got to find that motivation, got to find that problem, because that's our job. We solve those problems. And the 4th one is the price. The price. What do they want for it? What is their bottom line? How much would they take for that property? Condition, timeline, motivation, price. Burn it into your brain. You can get this master lead sheet right here. This will help you stay organized at ttpinsider.com. All right? This lead sheet right here. Got it?
Brent, so condition, you open that because it gets them talking, right? Timeline, how do you pull that out? What question do you ask to pull out timeline, or what do you say?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's several different ways to pull out the timeline, but basically, typically we close properties in 14 to 30 days. Does that work for you if we closed it in the next 2 weeks to 30 days?
And then
right?
if you found if you can get condition and timeline, do they just usually start talking motivation without
Yes.
you having to poke and prod?
That's the thing.
Yep.
A lot of people make the mistake of going, well, this sounds like a great property. Why do you want to sell it? Like, what? Like, they should be telling you these things. Now, if they're closed off and they're not really answering the questions that much, you can kind of figure it out. But typically, if you get the condition of the property and their timeline to sell, you're going to get their motivation. Most importantly, if you get that timeline, they're going to give you the motivation, right? Well, my terrible tenant's only in there for another 2 months, and then I got to sell it. Okay, great. Now, what did we get out of there? We got their timeline and their motivation. Right? So typically when you get condition, timeline, the motivation will come. If it is not apparent what their motivation is, there's something going wrong with the conversation. All right? Maybe you're not actively listening to their answers by saying, sure, that makes sense. Okay. Or maybe they feel like you're still a stranger and they're not really trusting you, and they're kind of giving you a little bit of info, but they're not really going full into what's going on with them. That is your job, to open it up. Start going more into the condition. Start figuring out that timeline. Start figuring out the price. They'll give you the motivation. They will give you the motivation, Edgar. Go get them. Professional Texas home buyer. I like that. Look at that. That looks like a belt buckle. That'd be cool.
That'd be a great belt
That'd be a
buckle.
great one. We should start wearing that. What is that, at 40?
Oh, we're getting belt
Yeah,
buckles.
at 40, Mike and I are going to start really going into Southwestern gear.
That's coming up this fall.
Yeah, that's right. 19 Legacy. There he is. Comp a property, please. 7022 Ken Knight Drive. Okay. House has flood damage and seller wants $75K. Beautiful. Let's go. All right. Let's take a look at this. I love this. 7022 Ken Knight. And that's Jacksonville. Got it. Okay. All right. And that is West, right? Oh, can you put that back on there? There's two of them here. West. Okay. Got it. All right. We're looking at this thing. All right. Interesting. Okay. It's not on a major street, which is great. So let's take a look at what this property looks like. We know that it has water damage. I'm curious what that water damage is coming from. What's that?
The river right behind
It might be the river behind it. I mean, this might be a flood insurance type of thing. It's interesting. Has a for sale sign on it.
It was previously listed back in 2016.
It was listed in 2016 for how much?
65.
65,000.
They removed it.
And does it have any notes on that, Jesse, on if it had water damage in 2016?
It says this large home is riverfront with a large addition added on the back. Gorgeous white picket fence. Has brick fireplace, 2-car garage. Perfect property for a handyman looking for a unique home to live in. Needs new roof, bathroom upgrades, kitchen update.
Yep.
ARV is 140. Selling as is, cash only.
Okay, got it. So
So those are the notes from 2016.
that's from 2016. So the notes of 2016, is that where'd you find that, Jesse? Just on Zillow?
Zillow, yeah.
Okay. So let's look at this, because I don't know if everybody heard. Oh, you've got your microphone?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So everybody heard that. So I'm looking at the neighbors first, and I want to see what's going on here in the neighborhood. You've got one townhouse. No, this isn't a townhouse. This is single family. So let's get into single family, and let's take a look at what's going on. Sale date. Here we go. Interesting. Okay, so we've got some low comps over here. 54,000, 65,000, 10,000. 23,000, 30. Wow, something's going on in this neighborhood is not getting
Those comps are on the other side of that.
tremendous. Yeah, let me see. Okay, they're pulling there. Let's look at the ones that are looking here. 1 and 2. One here. It doesn't show. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's just look at the comparables. All right. So comparables have this thing at 112. It's 140 is in there. Interesting. Let's go the last 6 months and see what that looks like. Boom. Man, you've got one that went for 200,000. That is kind of an anomaly. This is a good sized property, but you've got one that went for 199. These other ones, let's see what these ones that are going for 93,000 look like. Decent, needs work, needs work, needs work, needs work. Okay, I think that 140 works still. You know, you've got a 199. You've got these ones at 93. You put in some good work on this. It backs to the little. Is it a river? What is that? I mean, you'd have to see. The interesting thing is you're gonna have to see what flood insurance is gonna cost you here, because that's gonna add to it, because it backs to the water, and you've got the water remediation. Yeah, there's just not a tremendous amount of comps in that neighborhood. Let me see if there's any actives and pendings. Okay, you've got a pending here, 224. You've got a pending here at 90. Interesting. Let's look at this. And it's just rough. Okay. It's good. They don't even have anything on this thing. They don't have any details. Hold on. Let's get into the details. Let's see if they have a description of this. Hidden treasure, concrete house, could use some TLC. So this was purchased cash for 90,000, which is interesting because it's pending at 90,000. And it's been on the market 6 days. So I would just make sure that this comp here is similar to, where is that guy? 9. Where's 9? 9's over here. Let me look at it on the map. Looks like it might be a better neighborhood for sure. I'm just seeing, a lot of townhouses over here in this neighborhood. When you look at this street, the street looks like it's just, it needs some love over here. So 75, I would be more comfortable if you lock that up at 50. You could try it at 75. But I like it better at 50 for sure. I mean, it's a good size house, which means it needs a lot of renovation. And so, yeah, it's 2,300 square feet. If you can, I would try to get them down. You can try it. My advice would, you could try it at 75, get it out to your buyers at 90. But I think that this right here is going to affect it. The townhouses. I mean, it's surrounded by townhouses, which means that those are lower priced, which means that there's probably a higher likelihood that those are rental properties, which means that there's a lot more tenants as opposed to property owners, and tenants just don't take care of the properties, or the properties don't stay as upgraded as properties that are owned by and lived in by the property owner. All right, there you go. But good job. Good job finding that deal. I think 75 is a little heavy, and they wanted 65 4 years ago and couldn't get it, and the property's only gotten worse. So I think that you might have some room there. I think you at least got 65. Remember, when they went 65 on the market, they still had to pay the closing cost and the agent fees. So 50, I think, is a reasonable price. There you go. Awesome. What is your topic? What's your take on the topic that wholesale will be banned? I don't really know if that's a topic as much as,
Brent, some background on this.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been asking because Jerry Norton, like a week ago, had just a really clickbaity headline about wholesaling getting banned.
Yeah.
But he was mostly talking about some of the states that are just going to start requiring licenses.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of people are getting confused.
Yeah, listen, the National Association of Realtors is a powerful organization, and they want more people to be licensed, because what happens is, listen, people think that Realtor is like a government agency. It's just a private company, all right? And they do a lot of lobbying so that real estate agents always have a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Great, fantastic. So, of course, if they see more people getting into real estate doing wholesaling, they're going to want you to be licensed. Because guess what? When you are licensed to get access to the MLS, you have to join a board of realtors in your local market, which means more income for the National Association of Realtors. I mean, this is good business. It really is good business. So what they're trying to do is they're going under the guise of if you have to be licensed to do wholesale, then you have to use typically a realtor approved contract, right? And you have to pay your fees to the National Association of Realtors. There's more regulations with it, and they get paid more. And you're more susceptible to the board, the Department of Real Estate in your area, because they work hand in hand with the National Association of Realtors. So it's just a way. One, they see it as an income grab, but two, they see it as, well, we want to protect the public from bad actors. So I get it. So what my take is, I think in the next 5 years, most states will make you get a license, which I say fantastic, because then there's a little bit of a hurdle to jump. You get your license, you know a little bit more, you know the lingo, you know the words to use, you know the language, and then you just keep wholesaling. So
it's not a big deal. Plus, it's easier to network with other agents.
Oh yeah. I mean, it opens the door. Hey, it's Brent with Stunning Homes Realty is a lot better than, hey, it's just Brent. You know what I mean? So I think that, one, it'll give you access to the MLS, which is really interesting. Two, it gives you more credibility. And three, it just keeps the bad actors from really running wild. So what's my take on the topic? I think that at some point you'll have to get licensed. I don't think it's going to be in the next year or two, but in the future it'll probably happen. So you gotta be thinking about that. If you're building up a significant business, wholesaling real estate and finding discounted properties, then you got to get a license. Or you just buy the properties. You get the properties at a discount, you close on them, and then you can sell them the same minute, the same hour, the same day, a week later, a month later, whatever it is. But you can get transactional funding that'll fund that contract that you have with the seller, and then you actually close it, and then you either do a double escrow or you do a simultaneous closing, double escrow or double closing. So there's a lot of options there. This does not, listen, if you are concerned that you are no longer going to be able to find discounted properties, let me help you rest assured. You will still be able to find discounted properties. That's it. If you have to close on it, or if you have to get a license, either way, we're still talking to people. We're still having quality conversations with distressed property owners. We're still providing an incredible service to the property owners that won't necessarily help themselves, that have problems that a realtor doesn't want to solve, that a fix and flipper certainly doesn't want to solve. That's why we exist. We find discounted properties. Boom. How'd we do? Good? Good. All right. What are the best lists to start with after driving for dollars? Vacant land and tired multifamily properties. And listen, I've got videos on that on this channel. You can pull it exactly the way that I would pull it. Vacant land and multifamily properties. And don't shy away from properties that are owned by LLCs and trusts, because batch skip tracing can skip trace and get you the phone numbers for those properties. So it's really an exciting time right now because it's kind of wide open for the opportunities. So I would get after those two. Good question, Mike. Mike Roy tattoos. I wonder if he's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
I think those guys are incredible. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine. All the detail, and you're putting it on, forever.
It's bonkers.
Incredible. Raheem, are absentee owners that have vacant properties a good list? Yes. Everybody's going after them. Okay. So remember, listen, a lot of this business comes down to timing. What I will say, Raheem, is if you're going after those properties, do not get discouraged if you get a massive amount of rejection. You're going to have to sift through a lot of hay to find that needle, right? So absentee owners that are vacant properties is a pretty typical list that people are calling and going after and mailing. And, it's a big focus. So just be patient with it. You will find opportunities there, but don't get discouraged by the rejection. Just keep in your head, I'm one person closer. I'm one person closer. I'm one person closer. Good question. Big Ant Gaming. There you are. How to get out of paralysis analysis? I'm doomed. Well, a couple different things, right? You got to start, that whole thing that I started with, and I don't know if you were here from the beginning, of crossing that bridge from faith to fact. But number one is, that goes back to that word that I kept circling earlier, is the courage to do it. There is something inside you, Big Ant, that is different than most people. There is something inside of you that is saying, I don't want to just work for somebody else. I want control of my life and my schedule and my finances. All right? You wouldn't be watching this or be interested in anything that I have to talk about at all. I would not be on your radar, your mental radar at all, if you didn't have that fire in your belly to be different and just have a different brain. It's just wired differently. So just understand that it's easy to stay in the box, right? It's easy to be just to do the average thing and just to live that average life. The hard part is going after and having the courage to go after that dream that you have of being a real estate entrepreneur. And it's simple. It's just not easy, right? It's simple. Find an ugly house, have a conversation with the owner, and buy that house or sell that contract to another buyer, right? That's the simple part. The part where it's not easy is the day-to-day grind. The part that it's not easy is time blocking when you're going to commit to this business. The part that's not easy is getting over those first 100 conversations that you have with the distressed property owner where you feel nervous and you feel anxiety and you feel like you're going to screw up and you feel like you're kind of like starting something new and you're not very good at it, and being not very good at something makes you feel uncomfortable. Once you push through all that, once you're putting in really good things into your head every day, once you're networking and squatting up with people that are doing this business and showing you that it is possible and that they're crazy too, just like you, just like me, that's what lifts you up. You got to squat up, you got to focus on that courage, and you got to really feed that fire in your belly that says that I can do this, that I'm different, that I can, through my voice and my skills and my work and my hunger, I can make a difference in my life, my family's life. I can really build something special here. That's what you feed. That's where you go. That's what you tap into. And you do that by constantly putting good things in your head. Don't listen to anything else in the car if you're by yourself besides really good audibles, really good podcasts, YouTube, whatever. And surround yourself with people that are doing this business and squat up, and you're going to be fine. But just keep going. I get it. It's new, but it can be exciting. Remember, it's not hard. It's stimulating. It's not a challenge. It's stimulating. This is stimulating. Be stimulated to get that energy and to have that enthusiasm.
One of my favorite things you say is it's hard to screw up a motivated seller. You just got to find them. And it's not, you don't have to master all this stuff to get consistent and
right.
Just start having those conversations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just not overthinking it. Just don't overthink it. Problems, solve them, get paid. That's it. You're looking for property owners that have a problem that you can solve. How do you analyze a buy and hold deal? For example, maybe some fix-up potential, but not meeting 84 minus repairs. Is there a rule of thumb for cap rate? Yeah, a little bit, James. I mean, typically in most markets, people are going to use the 1% rule, or in some other markets, it's like 1.5% rule. In Phoenix, it's like 0% rule. People are just buying properties. It's bananas. It really is just bananas. But what I would say is, I wouldn't get too crazy with it. If the property's in decent condition, typically the repairs are going to take care of themselves. Remember, if you're selling a property to somebody that has a rental portfolio or wants a rental portfolio, typically, in my experience and the experience of 2,000 people that I've worked with personally, typically if it needs a lot of work, they're going to still want a significant discount. They're not going to want to be done with the work and it be worth what market value is. So number one, you got to look at what's the condition. Is it move-in ready? Can you keep the tenant that's already in there? Then the economics are easy, right? The economics are, what are you getting for rent? What are you buying this property for? And is it getting you a better return? This rent income, is it getting you a better return than putting your money somewhere else? Right? That's just the simple part. And if it's a good property in a good area, they're still going to want at least probably, to walk in with 20,000 in equity, maybe 10,000 in equity, so you can work your numbers that way. But for the most part, when you're selling to rental portfolio buyers, they want to make sure that property's in pretty good shape because they don't want to hold down, they don't want to stop their whole process of renting properties to fix it up and get something in there. Now, that's just traditional rentals. Let's talk a little bit about Airbnbs. This is when it gets real interesting because if you have a property in really good area where there's really popular Airbnbs and the buyer can buy this property, fix it up, make it incredible, and it turns into a cash cow, they don't necessarily need that 10%. You could go 0.94 minus repairs and you're rocking and rolling because they don't mind if it's market value because they're going to get such a extreme amount of rent from this property that they're willing to pay market value or more. They'll improve it even more. It just depends, right? So if you're talking to somebody that's in a really popular area and they want retail or under retail and you think that this could be a potential, I would lock up that deal and put it in front of your cash buyers as a potential Airbnb because I see people making a fortune. I'm making a fortune right now focusing on the Airbnb areas and locking these properties up at like 90% of ARV for real. I mean, I'm not even talking about minus repairs. Like we're just locking up anything in good areas that are in good shape and we're selling it in a second. I mean, we're not going over our skis with anything. We're not canceling deals. We're getting these and people are going crazy. So if you're in a really hot market where there's Airbnbs, rock and roll with that. Take some chances there and see where that price is of people that are looking to buy those properties. Because right now, people that want to buy Airbnbs in Phoenix, in Scottsdale, in Paradise Valley, I mean, you can't. You're bidding against 20 other people. The properties are going bananas. If you get an off market, nobody else is bidding on this, and you put it in front of an investor that has Airbnb strategy, woo, man, that's exciting. Those are some good deals. Those are some really good deals. So, good question. Yeah. Solamane, can you comp? Yeah, absolutely. I am not confident in my ARV. What is your ARV? Let's start there. All right. Again, guys, this is on ttpdata.com. I'm pulling all the comps. Anybody that is a serious real estate investor has PropStream. You can get it at ttpdata.com, and you get it tested out for free if you go there. But every serious investor has it, not only for comping, which I'm doing now, but for pulling lists of properties to go after. It's a phenomenal tool, and it lets you know what's owed on the property, what the estimated equity is, everything. It's bananas. All right, 192 Hedges Street. There you are. Okay, got it. Interesting. This looks like it has a MLS photos on this property. Yep. Okay, we got the condition. This is beautiful. Now we know what's going on. It is, it's in decent condition. This is definitely move-in ready. It's not upgraded, but it's definitely move-in ready. I'm very curious to know. I'm going to Google this and see. For some reason, PropStream doesn't have the MLS on it.
He said 142,000.
142. Okay, so Redfin estimate is 220. It has gone up 110K since 2015. All right, this last home. So this is pictures from when it sold a few years ago. So you're definitely going to want to check the condition on it. All right. What price does he have on it? Matt, what did he say?
142.
142. Thank you. Well, let's look at the how much is owed. Okay, they only got 96 owed on it. Very good. Let's look at both. Let's look at, for the data set, I want public record and MLS. Let's look at the neighbors first. Let's take a look at what's going on in the neighborhood. Whoa, you got some vacant land, mixed use. Let me get single family in here. A lot of mixed use here. Single family, sale date. Okay, here we go. You've got a 3-1 tiny little guy sold for 135, probably a wholesale deal, and then you got 250, and then you're just going bananas from here. All right, so 250 for this 3-1, and it sold in September. Let's take a look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at this. Oh, beautiful. Oh, magnificent. Yes. Okay, good condition. It's good condition. Let me make sure. This is interesting. When was this built? I bet 1942. Do you know why they have glass knobs in early 1900s? Because in the in 1940s, I mean, because in 1940 World War II started. They needed the metal to build weapons, so they started making glass doorknobs. Boom.
Why were the doors so thin?
Yeah, the
You know
doors
how
were so
small
thin.
The doors, was it just smaller people? I mean,
Yeah, people were smaller, Mike. Come on. Listen, they didn't have protein shakes and gyms. Come on. People were just smaller people.
That one you're looking at is a 1-bathroom.
Yeah, that's a 1 bath.
Subject's 2.
And our subject is a 2 bath. Interesting. Okay. And that was in the neighborhood. Let me see where that one was at. Because it might be across. No, they're all right there. Okay. Comparables. So what was that one? 250? What did that one go for?
we're learning all kinds of stuff today.
Yeah. Well, listen, all I do is read and watch documentaries, Mike. You know that. Let's look at this. Okay, let's go back. Because there's a lot of comps, I want to go back 3 months. Let's go to March. Let's go here. Let's see what the action is. Okay, excellent. Got some interesting properties here. Why is this one going for 150? It is a 3-1. Ours is 3-2. Why did this one go 139? Okay, got it. Ooh, this doesn't even have floors. Yeah, man, I like it at 140. I do. I think that that's good. I mean, let's take a look at this one more time. Let's get that neighbor and that sale date that went 250 for 3-1. Really nice property there. I would be interested in talking to the real estate agent on this one just to see why it went for 250 and the other ones are lower. It doesn't give us too much on the MLS. Look at that. Look at that. This thing was bought for $20,000 to 250. Boom. Look at that. Incredible. Fantastic. I love it. Anyway, that went 250. Man, it really only has 1 bathroom. That's what's shaking me here. Because this looks similar. I mean, this looks like a decent property. It's got the 2 baths, so I mean, you might be able to push value on it, but I'm just not seeing a tremendous amount. You've got some 350s here, but those are way bigger. So I like that 250 mark. Let's talk about what to sell this thing for. Let's go to the board.
And
Go ahead.
Zillow's saying in the last 30 days, this neighborhood has gone up 9%.
9%?
In 30 days.
Woo! So let's just, I just want to run a conservative and then we can start playing. So let's just go ARV on this is 250. Right? Let's just hit it right there just to be sure. And then I'll play around with it a little bit. 250, Mike, hit me with that 0.84.
210.
Equals 210. And for anybody that's new, the reason I times this number by 0.84 is 10% profit for the fix and flipper, or for the cash buyer that's going to buy it, or it's equity that they're going to have in the property. But typically they're going to rehab this. This property is in good condition, but it needs some updating. So the 10% profit means that they would make $25,000 minimum is what they're looking. The other 6% is the closing costs. So that's your title and escrow fees when you're buying and selling that property. So it takes into account those things. Now, if this number is under 200,000, you got to put a minimum here of 20,000. You got to subtract 20,000 and then subtract 6%. Don't let me lose you there. We're going to stay focused on this, but typically it's 0.84, get you here. Now let's say that this property, it's 1,000 square feet, it's a good shape, the roof looks good. The let's talk about appliances and flooring and some of the mechanical things. I'm going to say we're going to make this thing look really nice. We're going to put 25,000 into it. Okay? We're not moving walls, we're not doing anything crazy. That puts us at
185.
185 for the wholesale, and then he's at 140. He's at 140.
Well, he's got plenty of room.
He's at 140. 140K. What I would do to verify this so that you feel absolutely confident is I would call the real estate agent on that one that sold at 250 and just run it by him. But I think that I think you got a tiger by its tail there. I think you got a great deal. I think you got a great deal, especially Georgia right now. I mean, Georgia's just going absolutely bananas. It's in a good neighborhood. It's got a good yard. I like what's going on here. I really do. Let me see what it looks like now to see if it needs. No, come on. There you go. Look at this. This thing is charming. You can make this look beautiful. I mean, maybe keep it yellow. I'd probably do it white with some black trim. Ooh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. That's what I like to do. Oh, that's good. All right. Great deal. Great deal. Get after it. Awesome. Yeah. Is the seller saying, Blake, great question. Will I have your number? I'll call you reliable. Never. Never. Listen, as soon as you get off that phone, that seller's got a dog that's barking at the Amazon delivery guy, and he's running over there, and he's, hey, you be quiet, dog. You're always barking at, you know him. And then he's forgot about you, right? He doesn't have your number. He's forgot about you, and then he's off doing something else. And then he's got to go. He's got to go to work. He's got to go to church. He's got to go to whatever fitness center he goes to. He's got other things going on, right? Don't rely on them to reach out to you. You need to be the proactive one. You need to be the one that hits it, right? So go for it. Yep. Stay in front of them, Blake. It is not reliable. Now, sometimes they'll text you out of the blue, which is fantastic. But we call that a bonus. We don't call that, standard operating procedure.
Ooh.
SOP, baby.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're getting technical. So there you go. Real estate Rod. What does PropStream cost per month? And would you suggest that newbies start out with it? Yeah, absolutely, Rod. It's $97 a month, and you get to pull 10,000 properties from it, and you get to comp everything and do whatever. You get 10,000 that you can export on your list. So yeah, for $97, it's absolutely incredible. You should sell, TV or stereo or whatever. Just afford it. Find somewhere to afford it. Start selling stuff. Start finding a way to get $97 a month. It is a tool you absolutely need. And you might be a newbie, but that could change today. Literally. I mean, what's the difference between a newbie and somebody that's done a deal? I mean, it's just a matter of time. So, yeah, I would get it for sure. Absolutely. JR says, hey, Brent, OG Rhino here. Nice. I lost momentum during last year's lockdowns and now cannot seem to get my footing back in my market. Any current words of wisdom to get the ball rolling again? I love it. It's interesting that talk about momentum, because momentum is really, 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 really important. What I would say is not just words of wisdom, but some instruction for you. Number one, what I would do without a doubt is I would go out today and I would find 10 ugly houses. That's it, JR. Just 10 in your neighborhood. You might already have them. You might already have their phone numbers. Now, if you're an OG Rhino with Wholesaling Inc., you were probably mailing those people. So you might need to get their phone numbers, just put it into batch skip tracing and get those phone numbers right away. All right? And I would just make those calls right now. Just start the action. Start moving down. Call those 10 people and see if they would consider an offer. And then just do it again. And then just do it again. You don't have to go right into it and be like, you know, I have to go all day long and get going and really make this happen. Just start building that momentum. Start getting the train going back down, right? And also, you need to reconnect with that Wholesaling Inc. group, right? You need to reconnect with the people in the community that are doing these things. You need to find people in your marketplace. You probably already have some that you know that you just text, call them. Anybody that's in the industry, anybody that's doing deals, and just say, hey, listen, I would love to just talk with you for 2 minutes, catch up, and just see how things are going with your wholesaling business, with your real estate investing business. Get on the phone. Get surrounded by people that are doing this and go and take action. Find 10 properties every single day that you're going to call, and then that's going to start building up your momentum. Because it's not words. Listen, Jared, you know what's stopping you. You know what is pulling you back, right? Just push through, have the courage to push through and start taking those little actions, and those small little wins stack up to the big win at the end, which is being successful in this business, which is getting paid for going out there and providing an incredible service to your community. So you've got this, JR. You've got this. Why do real estate agents not work with distressed sellers' properties? Are they too good for the work? That's an interesting, a lot of times there's a couple different issues, okay? Number one is real estate agents are self-promoters all the time. And now there's a big thing where they're doing Facebook and they're doing Instagram and they're doing all these things. And as a real estate agent, the higher priced properties that you sell, the more money you make, the more status you have, the more awards you win, all of these things. All of this recognition and success, financial success, is really important. So agents are working to get into the luxury market. Agents are working to work specific territories, specific areas, right, that give them a nice commission each time that they work, and then they put their name literally on the sign in front of the house. So if they have their house, their name in front of a property that's in really rough condition, they might get a reputation that that's what they sell, and they don't want that. Plus, just from a technical standpoint, when you put out a property that is a fixer-upper and you put it out at a good price, if your sellers listen to you, and you put it out at a good price, you get like 500 offers. Well, guess what happens when you're a real estate agent? You have to keep all those offers. In Arizona, you have to keep every rejected offer for a year, every accepted offer for 5 years. You literally have to scan it in, and it goes to the cloud, and it has to stay in the CRM, the data management that the company has, that the brokerage has. So one, it's a lot of work going through all those offers and negotiating them all and doing a highest and best counter offer and having 1 million people blowing up your phones all day long. And if you don't have a staff to be able to handle that, that takes up all your productivity. Now you can't go and try to list that luxury home because you're so piled down with everything that's going on with this ugly distressed property that they just don't like messing with it.
Another thing, Brent, like, don't you think a lot of these distressed sellers with distressed properties, they just don't want to list with an agent, so they never call the agent?
Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of the times, there's not a lot of real estate agents that are going after this market, right? They're just not, they just don't market to them. They're just not connecting with these property owners. And the fact is, honestly, these property owners, Mike, I mean, they're embarrassed. Not only that, but a lot of them don't want their neighbors to know that they're selling.
People coming through the house.
They don't want people coming through. They don't want to disrupt their tenants. Oftentimes they have tenants that are in the process of moving out, and they don't want to organize with the tenants and bother the tenants every time that they need 50 people to go and show the house or do an open house or do something like that. So there's a lot to it. which is beautiful, which I didn't know. We were, Mike, we had our licenses forever. We didn't know. I mean, we did door knocking, we did those things, and we got some deals, but we didn't know that you could just literally go after these properties as a real estate agent and actually lock them up. Man, I've been talking for a lot. Would lock these properties up and do something special with them. I always thought that you had to get, properties from real estate agents. Think that you have to get properties at the foreclosure auction. You have to find some sweetheart deal that's on the MLS or is about to be on the MLS that nobody else knows about, or you just kind of stumble upon something, or you buy something off the MLS. Most real estate agents don't know that you can go direct to the property owner of distressed properties. You can actually get lists, get the phone numbers, call them, and be able to have a magnificent business as an actual real estate investor. They're so focused on being a realtor and building up their brand that it leaves the opportunities for us. And then on the flip side, Lado, they fix and flippers certainly don't want to deal with the emotions of the property owners and do the marketing and do the appointments. They just want to fix up properties and sell them. So they buy these properties from me, from you, from wholesalers. That's what we do. We provide these incredible opportunities for the fix and flippers, for the cash buyers, for the investors, for the hedge funds that they're looking for, because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to take the risk of marketing and the risk of working with the property owner and their emotions.
Dude, I got to get my own logo with like a grizzly bear or a,
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that.
A grizzly bear eating beef jerky. That would be great. That would be great. What time is it? Holy cow. We flew. This 2 hours flew. Guys, listen. Pulling the price out of the property owner is a critical skill for you building up your real estate business. All right? Use these tactics. Use these scripts. If you're just jumping on now, go back to the beginning of this and literally write down what we have. Maybe we can have this as a download in TTP Insider. We'll get something in there that has how to pull the price out of the seller here. Give us a little bit of time, but until then, take a screenshot and use it. Start testing it out. It's amazing. It's amazing. People go, I get DMs. Brent, I used that script that you talked about on the live. Oh my gosh, it worked. I can't believe it. I locked up this deal. I'm going to make $15,000. I'm going to make $20,000. I get it all the time. Listen, it works. It works. It works. It works. Make sure if you have not subscribed to this channel that you subscribe right now. This is the real deal. This is right into your brain. All right. This isn't just let me put out some clickbaity titles so that you can get in here and not learn anything, and not even learn anything, but not have any instruction to go out and do anything. Right? Like, the learning part of this is just so that you feel certain and comfortable. The instruction part of this is where you actually make money, when you actually take action, when you actually go out there and provide value to your community. That's what we want. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you get all the downloads at ttpinsider.com. Make sure that you are, if you are getting really serious about this and you're taking action, ttpdata.com. That is powered by PropStream, and you can get all the tools and the lists and everything that you need so that you can be successful. So, team, come on up. Come on up. We've got the whole team here. We are here every Wednesday going live to answer your questions and to give you some instructions. So, it is Daniel. It is Daniel, Mike Mahoney, Jesse. Come on. Come on. Matt, and Alejandra's coming with the Instagram. There she is, Alejandra. Wonderful. Thank you guys for joining us. We're here every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Arizona time. I'm telling you, you can pull out the price from the property owner. You can work on this, and you can be absolutely unstoppable at getting the price out of the seller every single time, and have the confidence that when you go on your appointments, you're going to get that contract signed. So until next time, I encourage you, as always, to talk to people. See you guys. Love you. Bye. All right.
That flew by.